SoCalQOL. It is Intellectual Tuesday, and we are ready to get smart. Ready to get smart with our wellness. But yeah, hopefully you guys are even better than you were yesterday as far as the second week of the new year goes. And just, I'm sure like me, honestly, I've definitely had a up and down kind of weekend, and I'm sure you guys will be able to hear more about that on our Transformation Thursday. But I really wanted to just dive into the intellectual wellness side today because, like how I've explained on the hashtag 365 experiment, we actually, the way intellectually that I kind of branch out, learn more things, meet more people, and encounter new ideas is by podcasting. And yeah, I don't think everyone should go out and like do a podcast, like physically buy the equipment and learn all the tricks of the trade and then start recording, even though you can, and you're way more than happy to do so because I encourage it and I think you would learn a lot from it. But the best thing I can do as the founder of SoCalQOL is just essentially show you guys what I'm listening to other than myself. So yeah, I just thought I'd take a few minutes to just go through the podcasts I currently have. I actually tried to filter through the ones that I kind of had adding up and that I wasn't listening to on the regular. And so, yeah, some are super brand new. Some I was recommended via Twitter and YouTube and just people from social media contacting me. Could have been spam, but you know what? Hey, I'm going to listen at least once and see if I like it. But then there's others that I've listened to forever. There's ones that have inspired me beyond belief to the point where I can't not listen to them. And so with all that being said, let's jump right into it. And I should probably unplug my phone so it's not connected to a cable. But yeah, we're just going to go from the top. And the first one we have is the Apple Bits XL with Brian Tong. So it's basically like a black background with like a A, B kind of graphic 8-bit kind of look and a little XL at the bottom on the bottom right hand side. But essentially, Brian Tong used to work for, I believe it was, you know what? I'm not even going to mention it because if I say it wrong, I'm going to totally shoot myself in the foot and I'll feel like an idiot. But he used to be at a big network and he was the tech guy for that network. And essentially, I just loved watching his videos on YouTube. And for whatever reason, I am drawn to tech, but I would never consider myself like a crazy techie guy. Yes, I know how to understand a good amount of technology. And yes, I use technology more than I can count on all the limbs on my body. But, I don't expect to like go into an IT job and know what I'm doing. I would love to learn that kind of stuff, but doesn't mean I'm going to go out and start, messing with wires and think I know what you're talking about. If you have a PC, I won't know anything. So that's essentially what Brian Tong is all about. He's all about the Apple products, and he just got back from CES, so he was sharing about things there, and so he's definitely like my in to the tech world when it comes to just everything Apple. And yeah, he's really good on his feet and knows how to communicate well, talks really well. And so if you're at all interested in that like inside scoop with not only like events like CES, but yeah, just things that most people might not hear, or even if it's out in the public, like on a newspaper article or whatever, he actually might have heard it from someone who's like in the know. So Next one is actually, this is like super brand new. I think I liked it like a week or two ago, or sorry, subscribed to it like a week or two ago, but simply because, I have a soft spot for Mr. Conan O'Brien, and his podcast is actually called Needs a Friend, which is funny because I'm sure he's fine. I'm sure he doesn't really need friends. But his last one was Adam Sandler, and I was like, what? So plop that on, and I don't necessarily listen to the whole thing, but I just it's cool to hear celebrities that you've known about for a long, long time, and it's like you're sitting on their couch with them, and hearing them talk to other famous people is just interesting because it's not every day that we get to do that. And so, yeah, I'm going to let it ride for a little bit. If at a certain point, not to say he needs to have super famous people all the time, but at a certain point, I might just, I'm going to let my ears take a little break for Mr. Conan. But for now, he's doing a great job. He's advertising really well, and, hopefully making good money that way. But the next one is the Entrepreneur Stories Inspiration. And it says, I think, Entrepreneur Stories for Inspiration. Sorry, I read it wrong. But this was one of those, hey man, check out my podcast. I think that's Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris on the little thing, and it says YOLO in his little mouth speak box, and he's got some Kanye glasses on. But honestly, this has been pretty refreshing. He basically goes and talks to these CEOs of companies that he really doesn't know anything about, but they've agreed to talk to him, and there's really nothing wrong with that. He doesn't necessarily have to know everything about the company to be inspired, or at least be a funnel or a vehicle for people to get inspired. But yeah, this last one's about the tailgate guys. Like, I haven't tailgated in decades and really don't know anything about tailgating other than the fact that, yeah, if you're in a college town doing it, like, it's probably crazy and, way bigger than, NFL games and whatnot. But it's just cool to hear the insight of how their business started, how much they were making in the get-go, how much they were paying themselves, to where they are now, 7-8 figures, 150 employees. And yeah, it's just good to get that insight as a hustler, entrepreneur, business owner, or even to just realize, like, hey, there's a side hustle out there that you might not have known about. So it's been great to listen to his podcasts, and they're usually 45 minutes to an hour, so you got to kind of commit with your ear. But that's the great thing about going on a walk is you've got time. The next one, actually, selfish plug. This is my other business. It's called Only Way to Play. And yeah, essentially it's a company that distributes free material to guitarists, for the most part, rhythm guitarists who are looking for a solution to either having a new style, getting better at finger picking, or essentially we use a tuning, I'll call it, system to bring all the elements of playing guitar together in like a few different pinpoint thoughts. And then from there, what you can do is apply those tunings to your own repertoire, your own instruments, your own original songs, or your cover songs, and essentially not only sound unique, but play a lot easier as well, because it's way less hard on your fingers, and there's just less thought involved. And for me, as a teacher of music and or guitar, I just saw that a lot in my students. They would get super frustrated because they couldn't play a certain chord, and that would be enough for them to stop playing. And I hated that. And so I just decided, kind of around the same time SoCalQOL started, that I wanted this business to just offer that solution to individuals who are still wanting to play guitar, even if they've never played before, have currently been frustrated with however they play and they're looking for an alternative, or you're a seasoned guitar player and you play every Dave Matthews tuning, every Goo Goo Dolls tuning, and yet you're always down for a challenge and a new sound. So it also caters to worship leaders, singer-songwriters, people that do a lot of singing, playing at the same time. So yeah, selfish plug, like I said. Next one is The Good Old Rich Dad, Poor Dad with Mr. Robert Kiyosaki. And this is a must if you're into real estate, if you are thinking about starting your own business, or even, are considered buying commodities like gold, silver. And he's got stories for days for all of them. And then he never says he knows it all. He's very honest with the fact that he has a great team of lawyers and accountants and bookkeepers that he pays very well to keep him informed and basically think for him in a lot of different areas, because he's not good at a lot of different stuff like that. And yet he's got the drive, the mentality, the hustle to do all these things that he does. And it's just amazing to see what that conscious effort can do for you physically, because everything that he learned as a kid from his actual dad was his poor dad, who went to school, got a government job, ended up losing, I think he lost his pension. So from that example, he decided, I'm going to go the rich dad way, because he doesn't have to worry about working for the government, having a 9 to 5, depending on other people for his retirement. And he's basically set for life, but yet he still travels and does everything he needs to do to continue his business. So, SoCalQOL. If you don't know what that is, then you'll never know. Okay. Next one. This is actually from a buddy of mine. He's actually like a fitness trainer / bartender, which is always fun. And it is called Stuff You Should Know Podcast. So I've only been listening to this for a little bit, off and on, for like probably the past month or so. And it's cool. They do these little, they juggle between like half hour to an hour long conversation about, what what was the last one I did? It's just different topics that you like never really thought you would even care about. Like one was about dolphin, not dolphin exploration, but I guess they have these dolphins they train to find underwater like explosives. It's like crazy. And so they just go through the ins and outs of it, and it's just hilarious. And then there's other ones where it's really short, like how to build an igloo. So if you're, in Alaska, or you're in the Arctic, or you're in some place with a lot of snow, and why igloos were important, and why they work, and why they won't work in certain situations or climates or whatever. So just super random stuff, but obviously intellectually making us more well. The next one is actually a gentleman who has a network of YouTube channels, basically called Taylosive. And he's got Taylosive Tech Podcast, which is obviously specific for tech. So kind of bouncing off the Apple Bits, Brian Tong guy. I've just been drawn to the Apple ecosystem. I've been drawn to all the different types of products that can work together to enhance your life, make it easier, and just kind of get the ins and outs of using Apple products. So that's kind of where Drew is in that regard. He's got tons of different channels, but his main one is the tech one, and they're quote unquote Apple sheep. So that's all they really talk about. But he's been getting better at doing Google, like Google Pixel. He's been doing Windows stuff, like the Windows headphones, the Surface headphones, which I was almost going to get, but I decided not to. But basically, yeah, he's just been doing it only for a couple years. He's super young, super talented though, really good, charismatic person, really good at making videos of just the vlogging kind of life stuff, but also tech videos, and recently got married. So congratulations to that, because that's a whole new part of your life. And we're almost there, guys. We got 5 more. The one and only Gary V, baby. So if you don't know about Gary V, you basically would listen to him if you need a kick in the ass, or you need some guidance on social media, what works, what doesn't work. Sometimes he says, do, or what is it called? Don't do what I say, or watch what I do, basically, is his end all be all. Don't do what I say, watch what I do. And because that's where the real life kind of stuff is. And he could talk to you about tons of stuff about where he's come from, his business, his businesses, why they're successful, all that good stuff. But for the most part, he's like, just watch me, just watch what's happening, watch what I'm doing. And for the most part, you'll probably end up not following him after a certain point, or not watching and listening to his content because you're out there hustling so much. Like, I recently had to unfollow him on some platforms because he just had so much content. He's all about volume. So when it comes to social media, it's all about delegating your social media to other people on your team or your business or your employees, and having them, basically build to scale all the social media. Yeah, document him. That's like the thing is, if you want to really succeed in the game there, just document your life, document your business, document just everything that you do on the daily basis. And you'll see moments where you're like, oh, that was a great quote. That was a great picture. That was a great, Instagram post. And it'll just happen naturally, especially if you got like a producer's eye or you just like to oversee things. So for any entrepreneurs out there who are looking to build their social media, he's the go-to guy. But also, just he'll tell you straight, man. He tells me things every day, and his podcasts are great. They're every day. They're everything from like a minute to 5 minutes to 10 minutes to hour and a half. I don't know if he's done like 2-hour ones, maybe, but yeah. But for the most part, he's roughly around 30 minutes to an hour. And but the last few this week have been all 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes. And then last week, I feel like every day was an hour. So yeah, when you listen to Gary, it's kind of where we get our platform system here for the podcasts that we do. I don't want it to always be an hour, hour and a half. I want those 5, 10-minute long ones. That way you almost feel like relieved that you don't have to listen to an hour of me or an interview, because you've already listened to 2 or 3 hours that week. And, I feel for you guys. I don't try to make these long on purpose, but if it's something that I feel led to say, I'm going to say it. And the worst thing that happens is you just turn it off. But maybe it comes back to you in, like I said, we're documenting here. I'm doing video. I'm taking pictures technically with the thumbnails and stuff, but we can distribute those later, and it'll come full circle. If it's supposed to come back to you, it will. If you love something, let it go. And if it comes back, it's yours forever. All right, enough mushy stuff. This is a new one. I basically saw these guys on YouTube through SoCalQOL, and they just had a good backstory. They're both transformation video guys, so you can see both of them are pretty fit. But in the background, they've got a few pounds on them. So just two dudes talking about how to transform your life, but so you can also hustle, make money, have better wellness, really. And so, yeah, they're a little bit more free form, kind of like I feel like how I am right now. So it's not crazy stressful, like, dropping ads all the time, or the topics aren't super drastically fast or anything like that. I think they post every week at least. But yeah, it's been cool. I've just I want to support them because they're doing their thing. I'm trying to do my thing. So the always good Mr. Joe Rogan. And I mean, some people don't know who Joe Rogan is, which surprises me. But I mean, I was super addicted to Fear Factor. So Joe Rogan was like a household name to me. But some of you also might know Gary, might know Joe from UFC, because he's one of their commentators. He's an amazing commentator for UFC, and he does jujitsu. He knows the moves. He just doesn't fight, like they do at the UFC. which is probably better because I don't know. I would get scared. He was supposed to fight. It was the dude from Blade. I was gonna say Denzel Washington, but that's super racist because, you know, crap. What is his name? Enter the actor from Blade right here. But yeah, Joe's amazing. He's already at 1,224 podcasts, which is insane. We're at 15, so we got a ways to go. But I'm grateful for what he does and how much he does it. And he really doesn't have to do it. He doesn't have to promote and videotape and hire Jamie and do all the things that he does, but he does it basically out of the goodness of his heart because it's just super helpful. It really just helps us, you know, little guys. And I mean, I wouldn't have had my transformation. SoCalQOL wouldn't if Joe Rogan didn't have Mark Sisson on his podcast. He can life. So second to last one is Peter Schiff. So he is my gold guy / economy dude / I mean, he's a business owner himself and lives in Puerto Rico, so he doesn't have to pay sales or doesn't have to pay tax. But yeah, he's the go-to guy. If you want to know anything about the stock market and or why to buy gold or just what's happening in the world with the Fed and President Trump, like, yeah, I every time I see his podcasts, the same audio, just with the picture of the podcast picture. But those YouTube videos go up before the podcast. So there's even times where I'll like stay at home to do dishes just so I can play the video while I'm doing dishes, even though it's just audio, versus me just waiting till the podcast updates and listening to it then. But yeah, great dude. Once again, Joe Rogan podcast. Peter Schiff's been on Joe Rogan, I think, twice now. And one more selfish plug. We got the Scott Triggoff experience, baby. So what this podcast is, it's basically me, basically what you're seeing right now, but with other topics, normal everyday topics or hashtag topics that I like to talk about. And it's also a place that there's interviews that I will think will apply to SoCalQOL or Only Way to Play. But for whatever reason, I just decide, you know what? I want to use this just for my personal brand, just to put it out there because, you know, my friends know who this person is or like the last one I just put up, I was going to use it here and I was an idiot because I was showing off my Apple Watch and how I can view the recording and the video and stuff while I'm recording. And in the process of doing that, I turned it off. So I didn't realize till halfway through the interview, after he explained all the intellectual, like, wellness stuff. And I just screwed up. And so the rest of the conversation was all personal jargon. And, you know, I didn't feel bad. It was just more so like, you know, well, I guess I'm going to use that for the personal brand. So that's why it's there. It's almost like, it's like Team Gary V. So Team Gary V's Instagram, and I think they have a Facebook too. But they literally take the content that Gary doesn't necessarily approve for his own brand or for VaynerMedia, and then they just distribute all of the content there. So if you're a fan of just everything Gary V, odds are you follow that. I did as well until I basically couldn't get through all the stuff, all the Gary V, VaynerMedia, Team Gary V, Vayner Sports. Like, I had to unfollow them because there was just so much content that I couldn't get to the people that I'm there to serve and add value to. So no offense, Gary. Sorry. All the millions of people that follow you, I'm sure you'll be fine. But anyways, guys, yeah, I want to try to cut this before 30 minutes. But yeah, that's essentially why I do podcasting for my own personal intellectual wellness. But at the same time, if you can't do a podcast yourself, either because you're an introvert or you don't have the equipment, even though all you need, honestly, all you need is a phone, the Anchor.fm app, and time. That's it. And you can use headphones like this. That's what I'm using to record it to YouTube. I have my regular mic for the actual podcast because I want to sound amazing. But yeah, if you can't start your own podcast, I highly encourage everyone to listen to a podcast. And then if you think to yourself like, oh, I don't know who to listen to, I wouldn't know, what genre to start with or what subject makes sense to me. Literally just go on to, I didn't honestly a podcast, but in iTunes, other than like Spotify, which we're also on Spotify, but other than iTunes, where you go up to where it says music and you can go movies. Trying to remember fourth thing down, it says podcasts. You click it, you switch it to that. The whole entire interface, at least content-wise, changes, and it's catering to podcasts. So anything you see in the store is all the podcasts that you can subscribe to. So, other than searching Scott Trickoff Experience, Only Way to Play, SoCalQOL, you can look up genres. You can look up like you would music or movies on iTunes and just start subscribing. And then the worst thing is you spend a couple extra minutes and doing the listening and you don't like any of it. So you just go, oh well, boop, boop. So anyways, guys, yeah, we're going to cut it short, not short. We're going to cut it at 27 and a half minutes, but I appreciate everybody. I hope this gave you some kind of intellectual wellness, that you jump on that podcast app, Spotify, any other place the podcasts are on a platform. And love y'all. Peace.